The mooncake is a common thread that you find all throughout East and Southeast Asia, or the Chinese-speaking diaspora, and it tells you a lot about the land that people come from.
One of the 4 major celebrations in Han Chinese culture is the Mid-Autumn Festival, which is now commonly called the Moon Festival. Today, we're going to explore 3 iconic foods of these festivities: the mooncake, the barbecue, and the pomelo. But first, I have a bone to pick about the name Moon Festival. The Mid-Autumn Festival's connections to the moon is more ambiguous than you might think. It's often explained that Mid-Autumn Festival is when the moon is the roundest and brightest. This actually led to the 90-year-old me to think there's only one full moon during the entire year. In reality, there's a full moon every 29 days, and the largest full moon, or the supermoon, appears about once every 14 months. But then again, these astronomical observations were not all that accurate thousands of years ago. One thing is certain: since the Mid-Autumn Festival is on the 15th day of the 8th lunar month, it marks the middle of autumn, which is the autumn equinox. As a marking of the 4 seasons, family gatherings and offerings to the gods and spirits would take place. This said date is always within 2 days of the full moon, leading to families enjoying the sight of the full moon during the festivities. Back to the naming. In Mandarin, the name of this festival is the Mid-Autumn Festival, not Moon Festival. This concept of naming the festivals after the festivities to make it easier for the English-speaking community isn't just unique to Mid-Autumn Festival. Another example is Dragon Boat Festival. The literal name is Proper Noon Festival, marking the summer solstice. It's like calling Thanksgiving Turkey Day. Okay, true, people do call it that, but it's still called Thanksgiving. Some Mid-Autumn Festival traditions revolve around the moon, but it's not called the Moon Festival. Let's stop changing the name of other people's cultures and oversimplifying the thousands of years of cultural history behind these events. However, due to the connection between the Mid-Autumn Festival and the moon, we get the mooncake. While the Cantonese mooncake may be the most iconic around the world, did you know there's a Taiwanese mooncake?
We actually have a Taiwanese mooncake. It's 绿豆椪, and that is 2-layered flaky mooncake with an oil crust and like a regular crust. So it has this like cut pastry crust, and inside is mung bean and pork. And that was created when the first Chinese settlers came around the 18th century, and they made use with the ingredients here. And there's tons of beans, and like there was just a little bit of pork, and that evolved to be the Taiwanese mooncake.
Cultures in different parts of China celebrated the full moon in different ways, and different mooncakes were developed based on the ingredients available to them and their preferred palates.
Now we have all sorts of mooncakes from all over, lots of influences from China. You see a lot of like Shanghai, Jiangsu style mooncakes in Taiwan, which is really popular. That's the round one with the egg yolk fresh on top, and they have sesame seeds. We also have the Cantonese influence as well, though that surprisingly isn't as popular in Taiwan because I think it's just way too heavy for Taiwanese sensibilities. So there are a lot of differences fundamentally just in the terms what type of mooncakes we eat.
One myth behind the mooncake takes place during a time of war, where there were snacks used as a carrier device for secret messages.
One of the origins of the mooncake that I've read is that back in the Yuan dynasty is when it happens, around like the 1200s. People there were really unhappy with the government. They're trying to overthrow the dynasty, but it was really hard to like pass the message around because the military really clamped down the city, so it was really hard for people to organize and get together. And so one of the ways that they got together was they took cakes and then put a little message inside that says like, get together on the night of August 15th, and they passed around these cakes to everyone. And then it worked. They overthrew the government. So to commemorate that, we still eat mooncakes today.
Another unique staple of the Mid-Autumn Festival is barbecuing. In Taiwan, this is by far the main event of the Mid-Autumn Festival. But this tradition only dates back to 1986. Prior to 1986, families would gather and admire the full moon, eat, drink, and just have a chill, fun time. However, in 1986, major soy sauce brand Wanjiashang ran commercials promoting outdoor barbecuing during the Mid-Autumn festivities.
During the time of Mid-Autumn, there were a few sauce companies that happened to be promoting a barbecue sauce. And the most famous one is probably Wanjiashang, which is also a very famous soy sauce company. And they put out a bunch of commercials and ads with people barbecuing and grilling. And it was so pervasive that everybody started to barbecue and grill during that time. And also supermarkets started, selling barbecue equipment to go with these sauces. They even had a slogan that says 一家烤肉万家香, which is one family barbecues, tens and thousands of homes smell amazing. And with that, people started barbecuing, and it became a tradition ever since.
3 years later, a competing brand, Jinglan, ran this commercial. These iconic commercials show the magic of television advertising and consumer trends at the time when Taiwan's industry was booming. In the 80s, many products were manufactured in Taiwan, including grills marketed and sold to the US. One particular year in the 80s, sales dropped in the US, leaving a surplus of grills in Taiwan. In a lucky turn of events for Taiwan's soy sauce industry, grilling manufacturing companies lowered their prices and started to sell domestically. The final iconic symbol of the Mid-Autumn Festival we'll cover is the pomelo fruit. Some people confuse it with the grapefruit, but it's actually a separate species. Its scientific name is Citrus maxima, quite literally, large citrus fruits. Like many traditions, there's no direct reasoning for the pomelo's connection to the Mid-Autumn Festival, except for the fact that the pomelos are in season during this time. In Asian hot-cold food theory, the pomelo is a cold food that can cool the body after a large meal. Some parents even let their children wear pomelo peel as a hat. Pomelo oil, like other citrus oils, can fend off mosquitoes, but no one's tested the efficacy of the pomelo hat. Sounds like a good science fair project. Doing research on Mid-Autumn Festival or Moon Festival has been interesting. Questions about the roots of the connection between the moon and the festivals have left my colleagues baffled. People are quick to bring up the story of Hoey and Chang'e, but which came first, the tradition or the myth? One thing is certain, the 4 major holidays in the Han Chinese culture coincide with the 2 solstices and 2 equinoxes, central points of the lunar calendar. Know about any other festivals with ambiguous or interesting stories or origin? Subscribe for more Taiwan stories. I'll see you around. Did you know that the legend of Chang'o made an appearance on the Apollo 11 transmissions? Here's the actual recordings.
Among the large headlines concerning Apollo this morning is one asking that you watch for a lovely girl with a big rabbit. An ancient legend says a beautiful Chinese girl called Chang'O has been living there for 4,000 years.
Yeah, the rabbit is another story.